Now we're going to talk about year-round stewardship. So why is year-round stewardship important? Besides the fact that we all love stewardship and we just want to do something all year. Thought that was it for sure. Stewardship is what I do with God's gifts all year round, not just an annual begathon, right? So year-round stewardship takes stewardship out of the once-a-year phase and puts it in front of us all the time, which is the way it should be, right? It strengthens and supports the members of the congregation in their knowledge and understanding of their role as God's stewards, and it develops and strengthens stewardship theology within the parish, and it changes the culture by changing the conversation in non-threatening ways. Real? Oh, look at there. Somebody should put little stars by her thing. Okay, so who should be involved after lunch? Hard question. Who should be involved in stewardship? Should it be leaders, adults, youth, children, everyone? Good answer. Yay. So we all agree that everyone should be involved in stewardship. So let's start with the hardest group.
Leaders?
I thought it'd be mean to say clergy, but you know. All right. So, when leadership doesn't lead, the group that depends on that leadership doesn't progress. And this is an essential truth for us as we encourage generosity for the purpose of doing God's work in the world. So let me say it again. When leadership doesn't lead, the group depending on that leadership doesn't progress. So how do we, as leaders and clergy or future clergy, lead in regards to stewardship? First way, preach it, preacher. Okay. Clergy, and if you're not clergy, go home and encourage your clergy to incorporate stewardship into their sermons all year round, not just in the weeks leading up to the stewardship campaign. Avoiding talking about the practice of spiritual practice of stewardship is doing a disservice to your congregation and to God. Now, sometimes the lectionary is very generous and hands it to you on a plate and says, here is an entire sermon on stewardship, in which case, go for it. That's lovely. Don't hide from it. But as somebody who goes around the diocese and preaches solely on the subject of stewardship, I am the first to admit that sometimes the lectionary is not so generous and makes it a little more challenging. But most Sundays, there is at least a line or two you can work in about stewardship in a sermon. Other thing as leaders that we can do is to create a vestry stewardship statement. As leaders, how can we ask others to take a leap of faith in a spiritual practice that we haven't spent any time discerning for ourselves? So do any of you have a vestry stewardship statement at your parish? Awesome. Sort of. So creating a vestry stewardship statement provides an opportunity for us to get clear on what we believe both as individuals and as a leadership body. A vestry stewardship statement is facilitated during a workshop with the help of a facilitator. With the Bible study and some serious reflection and discernment, we develop a comprehensive three-part statement that everybody has to agree on. That's the catch. And some people you have to agree on every word. We believe, we commit, and we invite. So here's an example of the vestry stewardship statement. We believe God is the source of all gifts, spiritual and material. Our faithful response and gratitude is to be givers and creators ourselves. While we strive to be good stewards of all God's gifts to us, we believe that the way we use our money reflects the state of our spiritual life. We commit to follow Christ in community. In prayerful witness to our faith, each of us is already tithing or is committed to working towards the tithe. And our experience is that joyful giving results in spiritual growth. We invite the parish to join us in this commitment to deepening our faith. Some parishes that we've worked with have longer statements, some of them have shorter, and they're a little different depending on who the culture, some language that would use and wouldn't use. But that we believe, that we invite, we commit, we invite is very hard. So once you come up with this statement, you frame it, you put it on the wall, you put it in every newsletter, you put it everywhere you can to publicize it. And what it does is it serves as a vehicle for public conversation about where people meet God in their financial decision making. Then you renew it every 3 years because every 3 years you have a new vestry. And we are available as consultants on the Commission on Stewardship to help facilitate this. It's a neat process if you've never been through it. It really, when I do it, I start with the circle of stewardship, and we really spend some time reflecting on what do we believe. And it's amazing how many people have never sat still and thought, what do I really believe about stewardship? Which also makes it really hard to be a leader when you haven't taken the time yourselves. So something else that we can do is the monthly article in a newsletter. That's a fairly easy thing to do. But it doesn't have to be heavy. As Judy told us this morning that the word stewardship comes from sty ward, and the origin of the pigsty. So at St. Francis, for a long time, our article was called From the Pigsty. We had an asterisk at the bottom explaining why. Because if not, people would thought something else you can do. It's in your Sunday bulletins, financial updates, quotes, cartoons. Sunday, your newsletters is probably a better place for your cartoons, depending on who you are as a church. All you've got to do is Google quotes, stewardship cartoons. Some of them are hysterical. I personally really like this idea of doing a charged restroom. I'm quite certain we can build our new building with that. So, next thing we can do is thank you notes. Oh my gosh, y'all. Thank you notes are the most underutilized tool we have, by far. The vestry. The vestry can write a thank you note, 1 or 2, maybe even 3, every meeting. This is so easy, it doesn't take a whole minute to do, especially once you get in the habit of it. You have somebody bring blank thank you cards to the meeting. Start the meeting and say, hey, who do we know that needs thanking? Oh, Susie really went above and beyond this month at the altar deal for all we're doing. Great. Would you write the letter? Sure. Have one person be writing the letter, the meeting carries on, you pass it around as the meeting's going on, everybody signs it. It is amazing the impact of a thank you letter from a vestry, and not just in some general terms.
Some other thing.
Sure.
At St. Martin's, Doug Raymer, who's known by his trouble life, he was excellent. And one of the things he would do is well, anytime they got a donation, there was a thank you note, and he signed it. And then when you get the big donations, he would actually call or visit the person and thank them in person or thank them by phone for what they've done. And there was one time when we were going to collect some money to start, I forget the name of the church. And so, because of his closeness to everyone, he was able to make one call and get $50,000 to help a so that kind of stuff does work.
Absolutely.
In a big way sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Your team leaders. Ask your team leaders to write one thank you note a month to a member of their team. You know, that doesn't take 5 whole minutes, but it makes a difference. For the clergy, provide your clergy with a list of every person who's involved in ministry. Then ask them to write 4 to 8 thank you notes a month, just going down the list. That still doesn't take any time. They check them down the list. I kid you not, I have had more people, and it makes me giggle, sometimes out loud, that are just blown away. Oh my word, do you know what I got in the mail yesterday? I got a letter from Father Ben telling me thank you for all I do in the altar guild. Can you believe that? I'm like, really? That's amazing. and I have been personally, even though I preach it up here, stunned to see how impactful a handwritten thank you note is coming from leadership.
Sure.
And none of those are hard to do.
That's good.
And not to mention, saying thank you is being a good steward of your most valuable resource, which is people. Okay, so now we've talked about the hardest group, let's talk about the easiest group. The children's. Children's giving envelopes. This is some seriously low-hanging fruit right here. You can buy 100 of these online for $3.99, or you can make your own. This is one that we created years ago because that was the theme of our Steward annual campaign. We created them in-house, we printed them on plain old cheap envelopes from Staples on our little printer. Always include the time and talent with money when you're talking about children's giving envelopes. Make them available in the Sunday school classes and the narthex, because not only is this training them, you're training the adults who are involved in their lives, and you're initiating stewardship conversations with them. And for a while, we would publish these too in the Sunday bulletins, and the kids loved that, or in the newsletter. Here's who we've got. I liked reading them, my good deed for the week. That was fun. Yeah, I thought it was great fun to read. And it also trains them that stewardship's not just about money. A candy tithe. Do any of you do a candy tithe already? You're aware of? Telling y'all this is good stuff right here. Easy and wonderful stuff. So, a candy is about as close to currency as you're going to get with little people. Maybe more valuable to them than currency, truth be told. So on Halloween, the day after Halloween, or Sunday after Halloween, have the kids bring up 10% of their Halloween candy as an offering to the church. When they bring it up, already have it pre-planned, like we give it to, there's a homeless shelter that'll give it out, so there's a good organization it's going to, so they can feel good about it. Tell them up front, ahead of time, you've got to build to it. So the first year we did this, we had a mom who sat down and explained everything. You know, here's what we're going to do. The Sunday school teachers are all explaining, we're going to do this candy tithe. Her daughter had whined. Oh my word, had this child whined. It's my candy. Why do I have to give it away? I'm the one going trick-or-treating for it. Oh my gosh, 10%? Are you kidding me? And the mom kept going, Libby, this is what we're doing. This is non-negotiable. So Halloween came, she went trick-or-treating. She said, all right, let's go ahead and separate out your tithe. This is so unfair. So she laid out all the candy, and mom counted out 10% and said, all right, here's your 10%. And she looked, she said, are you serious? That's it? Oh my gosh, I can give way more than that. I promise you that child has a better grasp on tithing than most adults. And then the kids are so proud on that Sunday morning to bring their candy up and to get reaffirmed for their gifts to God. It's fun, it's easy, it's not a lot of work. I'm all about low work projects. And again, it gets the grown-ups involved in a conversation about tithing. I can't have a conversation with my 6-year-old about tithing without having to think a little bit about tithing. So it gets everybody involved.
I heard somebody on the radio this week talking about the same thing about playing Monopoly with their kids and having them pay taxes. And teach them about paying taxes. And the kids were just like, taxes? Well, the kids were blown away with it, and it's a good lesson to teach
That's
kids.
awesome. I hadn't thought of that. And there's Episcopally too.
Really?
There is. Let's talk about the youth. So most teenagers inherently understand stewardship. We just have to give them the vocabulary to articulate it as stewardship. So one way to do this is their program called 40 Acts, Do Lent Generously. This is a great program. 40 Days of Giving Back, Doing Good, and Living Generously. This is an online program challenge that encourages people to make generosity a habit. You sign up online at 40acts.org.uk. All this is in your thing. And you'll get an email every day during Lent that'll include an inspiring daily reflection, a prayer, and then 3 levels of a challenge. They have a green, an amber, and a red. So the green is the easiest by far. It's quick. It's almost always free, doesn't hurt, doesn't sting at all. The amber is a little more time consumption, but it's still under 15 minutes, whatever it is they ask. And the red is for those who like a challenge and like to push themselves a little harder. So in addition to the emails, there's also a social media component that you can choose to engage with, and that's why the teenagers really like it. One beauty of this program is you can sign up as an individual or as a group. There are resources, and all of this is free resources. There are resources for doing 40 acts as a high school group, a middle school group, a children's Sunday school, an adult Sunday school, a family, there's a family program, and small children program. Really, this is a great program for the whole parish because it can get people involved at different levels. But the youth really like it. I will say Jeff Jackson did it a couple of years ago, and he's very active on social media. He's the priest he's in Carrollton now, but I think he was at St. Nicholas at the time. And one of the challenges for the day was to give away candy bars to strangers. And he posted pictures of his kids giving away candy bars. It was priceless. Like every day, whatever the challenge was, he had posted. So it was so much fun, to, even just watching them do it. And even though it's a really simple program, it can reach way beyond the person doing it. There's a great story of a woman who used to go to Starbucks drive-through every morning on her way to work. She was doing 40 acts, so she decided for that day she was going to pay it forward. So she gave the cashier extra money and said, hey, I want to pay for the person's coffee behind me, and just tell them Happy Easter. She left that day, she felt really good about herself, knowing she'd done a great deed, maybe made the person's day behind her. Next day, she comes back through the line, gets ready to pay, and she's told there's no charge. I said, wait, what? She said, I don't know, it's the cashier, it's the weirdest thing. You really started something yesterday, because ever since you did that, everyone has paid it forward for the person behind them. Wow. I can't help but think every person who went through that line was touched in some way that day because of this one small thing that this person did. So how do we get everyone involved? Make stewardship an everyday word instead of just code for the annual Begatime. Right? So like on your recycling containers, but thank you for practicing good stewardship. Incorporate it into your meetings instead of, what should we spend our money on? How can we be the best stewards of this budget? Or is this good stewardship if we choose to do this as opposed to that? And then Province 1 had this great program called Turn the Lights Off for God's Sake. And they put little stickers by the light switches because reducing energy use is an act of stewardship of God's good creation and of financial resources. Have fun events, not just the annual campaign. This is Christmas in July that we did for several years. Yes, that's me in a former life. We told everyone that Santa was on vacation in July, so we needed to step it up. We had each ministry team make a wish list. It included tasks, it included teeny tiny things like matches, and huge dreamy things like an elevator, big and small. We posted a huge long wish list in the parish hall of all of those things. Then we got a little manipulative. We had the children make Christmas ornaments to put on the Christmas tree. We put a Christmas tree up in the middle of the parish hall. And the children made their ornaments. They were very excited about it. It got them on board, but there was a catch. They couldn't hang the ornament until somebody took an item off of the wish list and put it on the ornament. Who's going to let their kids not put an ornament on their tree? And of course, we had every kid make a bajillion ornaments. So people would take an ornament out of the pile of them, write an item, mark it off our wish list, put it on there and hang it on the tree. So we've got the parents involved, we've got every adult that has contact with the child, which when children want something hung on a Christmas tree, it's every adult in the building. and all the ministry leaders are all involved in ministry teams. On the day of the event, we had potluck ice cream and Christmas karaoke. Potluck ice cream, Christmas cookies. We had Christmas karaoke on the front porch. This is a dad and daughter doing karaoke that we didn't know could sing, but could. We had melted snow slides, aka water slides, melted snowball fights, which were aka water balloon fights. And it was a great day. It gets everybody involved. It creates church-wide bonding through fellowship. It gets the church some much-needed items. Our sacristy probably will have great-great-grandchildren before they ever need any more silver polish. But most importantly, it gets people to start thinking of stewardship in a new and positive way. All right. So, in a well-executed stewardship program, there's something happening every month, right? That doesn't sound overwhelming at all, does it? But it really doesn't have to be, promise. So the Diocese of West Texas developed this great framework for year-round stewardship. And so what we did is, with their permission, we took their basic framework and expanded it and tailored it for the Diocese of Atlanta. And the calendar gives suggestions for practicing year-round stewardship. So each month, the church season is explained, and then a theme is identified around which activities can take place in 5 categories. Spiritual growth is the first category, which offers ways to deepen the spirituality of individuals and the congregation. Ministry spotlight, which I think we were talking to folks from Ascension over here earlier about, which is every month focusing on a different ministry as a way of giving thanks for that ministry and raising awareness about it, which encourages and attracts new participants. And it encourages a way to say thank you. That can be something simple like, hey, can we get all the members of the altar guild to stand up? These folks put together our altar every day. They do a whole lot of stuff that you don't ever see, and we are so grateful for your work. Can we give them a round of applause? Easy, nothing complicated. The third category is financial health, which focuses on fiscal responsibility. It can communicate the leadership's good stewardship of the congregation's resources, but it can also offer various ways that families can be intentional about how they manage their money, including how much they save and how much they give away. Outside ourselves is the next category. And outreach is where we take stewardship to the streets of our communities. It's where we hit the pavement. These activities help people connect their pledge to ministry, right? So in addition, communicating and celebrating the stories of meeting the needs of people encourages people to give, right? The important motivators, what you were talking about earlier, you get on board with their hearts and they see, look, this is why I should give. So it's a dual purpose. And the last area is God's creation, because how we care for the environment that God has entrusted to us is a mark of our faithfulness. This category can include caring for the environment in our communities, in our homes, and in our churches. So on the next page of your workbook, you'll see September. We have a book that's available here for y'all if you want one. We've got plenty of copies. It's all 12 months, but I just included September so you can get an idea of it. As you can see, the month has information about the liturgical season, and then it identifies a theme, and then it gives suggestions for each of the 6 areas here. And then you'll see a planning page. So you just go through and pick one out of every one of those categories that you can do. The calendar is a starting point, so you tailor ideas for your congregation. Some words of wisdom. Divide and conquer. Start by giving each person on the stewardship committee a month. Depending on how many people you have on your committee, it could be 2 months. To have them go, okay, we're going to take a little time here, I'm gonna hand you a month, you're responsible for January, you're responsible for February. My husband is not Episcopalian, he doesn't know Episcopal lingo, so he was my test case. I gave him whichever month had the most choices to see how long it would take him. He did it in 7.5 minutes, he didn't know the choices. After you have each person go through and plan 1 month, you look at them as a whole. Okay, in January, we're looking like we're doing this, but hey, our church already does this. A lot of these activities are things you're already doing, like hunger walk. Chances are you all are already participating in the hunger walk. You just tweak it a little bit to say, hey, would you participate in hunger walk and be a good steward and help us take care of this? Or creation keepers. We're already doing something about recycling. Let's just make sure we reword it. Let's see, assign each person a month. Take an idea and compile the worksheets and make any adjustments. We did this as part of Call to Lead with vestries a couple of years ago. Within 30 minutes, vestries had a complete 12-month program that they could execute. So 30 minutes to have a 12-month program laid out. Don't bite off more than you can chew. It would be lovely to say, yay, we're going to do all 5 things every month. I know virtually no church. Okay, I know no churches that can pull that off. So look at what you can do, but at least do 1 a month. And I'm going to go back to the whole ministry spotlight. Everybody has time to do that. I'll say thank you. You don't have to do it yourself. The more the merrier. So come up with some ideas for like the financial planning. But then get your finance team. Talk to them and say, hey, could you guys run with this and do this? Talk to your Christian ed or adult education team and say, we'd like to do something that talks about this. They may have already going to be doing it anyway, chances are. Talk to your outreach committee. Ministry spotlight, partner with communications. That can just mean giving them, hey, January we want to spotlight this ministry, February this one, March, so forth. Would you please do a shout out in the newsletter? So not a lot, it sounds like a lot of work, but it's really not. All right. We're here. That's what we do besides these workshops, we're here to help. So if you get stuck or you have any problems, call us. That's what we do. So now we're going to talk about holy currencies. This is a program that was developed by Eric Law. He was an Episcopal priest and an author, as well as the founder and executive director of Kaleidoscope Institute. When most of us think about giving gifts to God or getting gifts from God, we instinctively think of money. But Eric has identified at least total of 6 currencies that must flow through a sustainable missional ministry. The first one is gracious leadership. The ability to use skills, tools, and models and process to gracious environments within a mutually respectful relationships. And the difference can be whether it's socioeconomic, racial, gender. Gracious leaders know how to build relationships with and among diverse populations and to discern the truth together. And that is a currency. The second currency is relationship. Internal and external networks of respectful connections of leaders and members of the church and the community. Internal or connections within the church or denomination or ministries, and external or constructive relationships with non-members. So different racial, cultural, ethnic groups, neighborhoods. And social networks have value because they enable us to do things that we can't do all on our own. Next one is the currency of truth. The ability to articulate individually and corporately the global and holistic truth. Wow. Currency of truth is what ignites the passion behind the justice work that we have to engage in as the church to make the church relevant to restoring the spiritual, economic, and social wellness of our communities. If we don't have this currency, we're lost. Currency of wellness is a state of well-being and health physically, socially, economically, ecologically, and spiritually within a church or ministry, the neighborhood, the town, nation, earth. Sustainable wellness requires regenerative and circulatory flow of material, human, financial, and natural resources. There's a currency of money. And keeping in mind that money only has value when we exchange it for something else. When we lose sight of the original purpose of money and decide to accumulate it as a commodity rather than keeping it moving as a medium of exchange, that's when we create economic problems. And the last one is time and place. Property which church owns, opening it up to other groups and organizations. And creative use of the space and time brings members of the community to your parish. And then by being present and listening to the experiences and stories of those who come, you build relationships. Okay? So when we share these blessings, there we go. It's not like they get used up and they're all gone, right? It keeps flowing. One blessing, like the time and space, flows into another blessing and becomes another blessing, and a blessing of relationship. So Eric Law calls this the cycle of blessings. So when we share our blessings, we actually create and generate more blessings. And these certainly are not the only currencies, but these are essential ones that a ministry must have circulating. So God owns everything and gives abundantly of God's creation. But our job, as Mal pointed out earlier, is not to keep these resources. Our job is to circulate these resources. It's a dynamic process. By sharing our blessings, God's blessings are circulated and create more blessings. So this idea is it's a gigantic shift in how we think about stewardship and about the church in general, right? So often our brains are wired for scarcity. We don't have enough, so we're going to hold on to everything we have, right? So we need to rewire our brains. How do we go about doing that? We do it by moving from holding on to letting go, from moving from doing church to relating church, because church is all about relationships. So we need to move from static way of thinking about money to a dynamic flow. From maintenance mode of let's keep what we have to a missional, to fear to grace, right? And we do that by engaging all of our senses. So when water doesn't flow, it gets stagnant, right? And it stinks. And just like water, when resources don't flow, they turn rotten. And this includes money. Bishop Tutu pointed out that in 2008, that before 2008 and after 2008, we had the same amount of money. I mean, nobody was burning huge piles of money. So what happened to all the money in 2008, right? People were holding on to it. The people who had it were holding it and not letting it flow, and it stunk up the whole country, right? So the same is true of the other currencies. If you and I have a great relationship, but we don't share it, so I'm only going to be in relationship with you, what's going to happen? We're going to kill each other, right? Or the currency of truth. If you and I have a truth, we know a truth, but we're not going to share it with anyone. What happens to that truth? It becomes a secret. Right? So, I need 3 volunteers. Don't fight to get up there, just because I'm getting to get up.
Maybe you want to.
3 volunteers.
You're fantastic, but not quite God. So we can ask you what's the stipulation? What's on the other end?
I'm not telling. Trust. Faith and trust. I won't make you quack like a chicken, unless you want to. Okay, yes, reason. We're gonna play some cards,
Is this like my kids, 52 card pickup?
something like that.
Volunteering.
Okay.
All right, man.
So these cards represent resources, be it money, be it time and space, right? You name it. So if we follow what the world tells us, right, then the goal is to keep them, or even better, have more, right? Because we're fearful, right? We just want to feel secure. So I need to have more, because you never know. So if we're going to follow the world's plan, and the goal is to have the most cards, how about if I give you one and you give me two? Following the world's plan, and the goal is to have more, are you going to take?
Sorry.
That's all right.
I
Got
gotta
it
go
choked
through that.
up. Okay. I'll do it, I'll try it with you. Following the world's plan, the goal is to have more cards than anybody else. If I give you one, will you give me two?
Sure.
Need somebody? Need somebody to come in?
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, I'm
No.
gonna give you $1. Will you give me $2?
No.
Okay. These are resources. Y'all are with me now. We're doing it, there you go, because we want security, right? Okay, now y'all are with me on how the world works. So now we're gonna switch it up. We're gonna do something really crazy, really crazy. I'm gonna ask us to like follow Jesus. Just a little bit, not all the way, just a little bit. Because what would Jesus tell us to do with our resources?
Give it all away.
Right. Well, that's asking a whole lot. That's a whole lot. So instead, we're going to try something new. This will only work if everybody agrees to do it. We're going to give until we have less. Okay? So I want you to, okay. So I want you to meet him and give him your resources until you have less than him. Good.
There you
You
go.
can keep the photo.
Okay, good. Now, I want you all to go around the room and keep doing that. Your only job is to give until you have less.